Thank you again for choosing Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet.
Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet has been serving South Louisiana for over 50 years. That's right, 50 years. No matter how much Trapp has grown, you can count on hometown feel, friendly service every time you stop it. Our unmatched service and diverse Chevrolet, Cadillac, and pre-owned inventory has set us apart as the preferred car dealer in South Louisiana. We're also known for our outstanding auto repair service, changing your oil quickly and easy financing.
We promise to always give the most in your auto buying experience here at Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet in Houma.
For those that may not know, because I actually had a couple people ask who I was, I am Jason Bergeron, the parish president of Terrebonne Parish. And I want to start off by thanking you guys for being here and giving me some of your time. I feel like time is our most valuable resource. And so when I was running for office, I talked about transparency and making sure that we give information to people so they can make informed decisions. And that's why we're here. We're going to do this on a regular basis. And so I offer this. I like to start off with saying I have a presentation. I'd love to show you guys, about 30 minutes long, or we go straight into questions after I do this little intro part here. But if you guys want to see the presentation, I hope it's going to answer a majority of your questions. And then we can ask questions as we go and ask questions after. I'm not going to leave until every question has been answered. So y'all want to check out that presentation first? Y'all good with that? Okay. So one thing, a couple little housekeeping deals. If you have a question, because we are recording at both HTV and the parish, we'd appreciate you going to the mic, and so that everybody can hear your question be asked, and that we can then answer your question. So that's the first thing. I want to recognize a few people that are here. We got Councilman Danny Babin. Where'd Danny go? I lost Danny. All right, there's Danny back there. Councilman Carl Harding, Councilman John Amity, State Rep Beryl Amity, and then from a parish perspective, I have my Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Noah Lerat. I have our Chief Communication Officer, Mr. Robbie Lee, our Chief of HPD, Mr. Travis Terrio. We have Mr. Chris Pulaski from Planning and Zoning. We have Carolee Bernardo from Housing and Human Services, Mr. Jim Window from Quality of Life. We have Earl Hughes, who is fixing some chairs over there with OEP, Mr. Clay Knockan with Solid Waste, Mr. Mark Black with Coastal Restoration, and Mr. Ryan Page with HR and Risk. And we also have our communications team, Russell Walters, Caroline Eshte, Ryan Melanson, and Brian Rodrigue. And so we brought a team of people. I'm hopefully able to answer all your questions. And for the ones that I can't, we're going to bring it up to them. So I'll start my presentation. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, come up to the mic. I give a real informal presentation. I want to make sure, again, I want to give this, but I'm here more to listen than to talk. And so, again, thank you for making the time for being out here. And we're going to get started if y'all ready. And one thing I'll point out, too, is, and you might have heard or seen, I have it here, and we have it up there. So we've had the parish seal for a long time, but there's actually an ordinance that says if you want to use a seal, you got to get approval and all this other stuff. And so we wanted to create a brand for the parish that people can use to market, that our residents can use and everything. And so that's what that logo is. You can see the green and the blue. Look at the land and the water and how they come together. But it's just, when you look at the top parishes in the state and the ones that have had success and is at the top of all the rankings, they've all rebranded. The ones that are at the bottom have not. And so I'm just doing every little bit that I can at every level to make sure we have the best opportunity and to breathe new life. And as part of my slogan is move Terrebonne forward. And that's kind of the first part of it that everything else is going to wrap around. And so we're working on a new website that's easier to use, and all that's going to wrap around that new brand. So we're going to start with rebuilding projects. And just to go over a few projects that we've been working on. We had an air-based fire station on the east side that was demolished with the storm. We're in the process of going through final review and rebuilding that. And that's just to show not only, I know our residents are dealing with hurricane issues and Ida and everything that is post-hurricane recovery, so is the parish. Our government tower, we're going to have the first, second floor is going to be finished hopefully at the end of September. And so we are actively working projects in the parish, on parish buildings. we had to sue our insurance company, and we're working with FEMA to get money we need to get projects done inside the parish. We have the Civic Center had a lot of damage. We're working on having that completed in February of 25. The Municipal Auditorium, the Dumas Auditorium were both majority completed. For Dumas was all completed. Municipal is mostly completed. And we have a few smaller projects. And then we have a health unit that's part of a millage that we've been collecting that we're working on. And we're 90% complete on the plans. We're anticipating construction to begin in fall of 2024. And so those are a few of the projects post-Ida and some stuff that was going on before Ida. Any questions on the rebuilding projects before I move forward? All right. So next thing I want to talk about is CDBG-DR funding. So you've heard the conversation about the fact that the parish is going to get $117 million from the state. We went through and submitted some plans, one in January and the other one in March. And then we were answering questions on those plans. And then the state said, we're going to change this a little bit. There was a first allocation and a second allocation. They decided to merge all that money together and say, okay, we like your ideas of plans, but now you need to fill out an application for each project. We're looking at about 26 projects, and these projects are low to moderate income. They're some of it economic development related, the other ones are resiliency related. So it has to fit into certain categories about who it services and what opportunities it will provide. And so as we go through, we've done many studies over time. We have a parish-wide planning study. We have different kind of recovery studies. And so as we look through these studies and different town halls that we've been a part of, we've gathered all this information and took that information and put it into where we think would be the best benefit for the parish as a whole. And these are some specific projects that we're talking about. So we are talking about water redundancy and water quality, small business grants, support for the seafood industry, an Activate the Bayou program, a small business incubator, a stormwater study, and a wastewater study. And so those are just some of the projects of what we're looking at doing. And so as we submit these applications, for example, like small business grants, we're going to submit an application, tell them what we're trying to do, the areas that we're looking to serve. They're going to say, yes, you're approved, at which point we're going to then create an application process for small businesses in Terrebonne Parish to have access to the money that we're going to have for the small business grants. When it comes to a wastewater study, I know in a lot of our rural areas across the parish, wastewater, sewage is important. So I want to add sewage to this street down here, this neighborhood over here. We don't have a number of what that would cost. And so on top of adding sewage to a neighborhood or a street, we also need to understand what impact that's going to have on our sewage system. Thank you, sir. And so as we go through this wastewater study, that's going to tell us that information. That if we're going to add this area in Gibson or this area down the bayou, this different areas, different streets, different neighborhoods, what does that cost look like? So then we can take those numbers and work on getting, thank you, sir, work on getting further grants that are out there that will help with water and sewage. And so as we tie together the Activate the Bayou program, it's really important to us that we have a healthy waterway throughout the parish. And so we've had some projects that have been started in Bayou Terrebonne, but I want to make sure that, we're Louisiana's bayou country. We want to make sure that we have healthy waterways and we have access to those waterways throughout the parish. And so as we continue to work through making sure this bayou right here, is as healthy as it could be, as resourceful as it could be used, to make sure that that's done throughout the parish. And so stormwater surveys, so that's also drainage. So you look at what water drains into this bayou and where does this bayou drain and the pump systems, everything that we have going on. We've been working real hard to make sure we understand the permanent levels of where we pump and what areas are affected at that water level. And really making sure we're looking at everything. We're trying to get feedback from the different communities to understand where water stays, where water pools, just all that information so that we can make informed decisions on how we work through all this. And so our applications are due November 30th. We're starting to submit them now. Hopefully as we submit them, they start saying yes and start looking at getting us some money. I'm hoping that money starts to come through by the end of the year. But we're going to work on making sure we share a status of this. You can actually go to tpcg.org/recovery on our website, and it talks about, it has probably about 4 or 5 paragraph summaries of each project that we have submitted through both allocation 1 and 2 that is now combined. And you get a little more information. It even covers what area we're serving and everything else when it comes to the CDBG-DR recovery funds coming through FEMA to the state. Any questions on this part right here? Yes, ma'am.
You said that we have to submit applications for these projects?
So when it comes to like small business grants, that's going to be something that we accept applications for that specific, right? I have not received this money yet. We have not.
Terrebonne Parish has received a total of 1, blah, 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 what I'm reading.
I agree with you.
That's what that says. So that's, if I read that, I'm thinking you have this money.
Right. I'm glad you pointed it out because I've given this presentation a couple times and nobody said that.
That's what that says.
Right.
That you have to apply for
Yes,
that
ma'am.
money. You haven't received this yet.
So we resubmitted a couple plans, and those plans have 26 projects. And they said, we like the way direction you're going, but you got to turn in an application. So that's something we need to modify on that presentation is we have applied for $117 million. No, ma'am, we have not. And that's, look, I want this money just as much as you do. Because look, I look at post-Ida recovery, like that's a first, I feel like we've taken a lot of smaller steps. So that's a big step to provide opportunities for our residents, opportunities for our business, recovery, coming back from Ida 3 years later. I think it's taken too long to get this money, but if you compare us to Lake Charles got hit a year before us, and they're actually going through this process at the same time as us. So if I try to reach out to Lake Charles and say, hey, what did you guys do? They go, we're in the same boat as you. So I couldn't imagine getting this money a year further out, but that's what Lake Charles is. And so we're fortunate our storm actually gave them the opportunity to get the same kind of funding, but we're going through this process together. And like I said, we were submitting things, and then they came back and said, okay, but combining allocation 1 and 2, you got to submit your applications. When we received is they've said, we're looking to give you $117 million, but you got to justify it. So we have technically received it that the state says you're going to get 117, but we don't have a dime of that money yet. So I appreciate you asking that. Anything else? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to know, would that be included like a grant or something you all would be helping on for the bayous where people can start back fishing and things like that? Right now, you can't see anything.
Right. So when you look at water redundancy and water quality and you look at Activate the Bayou, a few of these projects will overlap. Okay. And I can tell you, if I could take care of lilies and love bugs, I think I can run for governor, right? Gotcha. Lilies are a problem, and so we've had conversations with wildlife and fisheries because depending on where the water is, they say, no, we have to maintain it, or you got to maintain it. And so, we do our part to pull as much lilies out. Lilies are sprayed. I'm even talking about, hey, can we go figure out where the lilies start, put a little tracker on it and figure out how it gets to where it is and block it off somewhere. Okay. But I can tell you at the Sportsplex, there's little ponds that are full of lilies. So part of this, I think, comes from the fact that birds might drop seeds and, lilies is something that we do battle on a regular basis, and we are working on a few different opportunities for how we battle that. The Cynthia Corporation, who you guys might have heard of, they're asking us, do we have enough lilies to give them to do what they want to do? Okay. I was like, we got more lilies than you could deal with, and I guarantee you everybody in this room would help get them there, right? Yep. And so we have a few opportunities, and when I talk about Activate the Bayou, we started right when we got in office that Bayou Terrebonne is where a lot of stuff ends up, and we had some projects already slated there. But we did a cleanup from Lafayette Street to Westside Boulevard, ran out of funding of what we had there, and then we have another project that's going to take us to the Parish line. That's money that was already awarded. We've been having, I think, since 2012. Noah could correct me on that. And so we're going, okay, we already have the money for this. Let's get that done so that we could show people this is what we want to do on all our bayous. And then we're having conversations both at the state level and at the federal level of, hey, so I don't know if you guys, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, we have 900 derelict vessels in our waterways, right? all this kind of fits into multiple opportunities to get funding in different sources to make the bayous healthier, to make them navigable, to make them to where we can fish and do everything that we normally do. But it is a battle that, you know, we have the most invasive species of water lilies in the world. And so, you know, to work on that and chip away at that every year, I'm hoping we can really make a dent over time. So,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Any other questions
Thank you.
on this before I move on? And look, if you have more questions at the end, we can ask them after. So, all right. So one thing I feel like we have is a housing crisis. And I actually had a meeting this morning, which actually made me change the first item, because the first item said hold the housing authority accountable. And I had a meeting with HUD and Housing Authority this morning and trying to get a better understanding of a plan. You know, what does it look like for those that no longer, especially in Bayou Towers and Senator Circle, they have left, they don't have a place to live, where are they at, who's coming back, and then from that, addressing the fact that we have over 400 families that are not living in their homes as of right now, right? So I call that a housing crisis. And so a few things that we've done is we're reopening the Beautiful Beginnings Center. So that's a center in Houma that is families. That's a gap. That's something we hadn't had since Ida. So that's one area we'll be able to help people with other gaps we know we have to fill, but we'll at least bring in something back that we had before. And then you look at between Parkwood Place, West Tunnel Loss, Imperial Terrace Apartments, and Bon Terre, you could see 90, 40, 120, and 55 units, right? Some specifically for the elderly. And so we have things in place to bring housing back to those numbers, plus whatever we're going to do with the Housing Authority through HUD. And so that's something we're working on to work on the housing crisis in our region. And I think it's very important that we do everything we can. And, you know, I look at these people and I say, man, those 400-something families would love to have an insurance crisis, right? But right now they don't even have a house to have a housing crisis. So we got to work on making sure we get them into their homes or some level of home like they used to be. So any questions on the housing before I move on? Nope. Pointing at the wrong thing. So economic development, and when I look at the money coming in through CDBG-DR, some of that has to have, again, that economic development tie, that resiliency tie to it. So we just had an EDA waterline grant that's going to allow for some development on Martin Luther King and Westside Boulevard, right? Because that's an opportunity to expand that area. If you look at an area that's not developed by performance power sports, by walk-ons, it's not developed because they hadn't had a waterline there. So with the EDA, with us, with Terrebonne General, with TITA, we partnered and said, in Waterworks, we partnered and said, what can we do to bring development there? I know Terrebonne General's talking about putting a wellness center, right? That's an opportunity for us to have jobs created. That's going to create development in that area. Anytime you can have economic development, especially post-Ida, I think it's great. So I think that's important to share. We bought the Whitney Bank building for a third the price of the tower we're in, and we're using that as a quasi-government and office space. And so we have some stuff that's in there, plus we have some tenants that are already in the building. Our understanding is we'll pay that building off in about 6 years. And then from there, everything else would be money we put into the parish. And then we have other entities in the parish that are renting buildings, so we're relocating some of those. So that's some rent we're going to be able to save. And also expands foot traffic downtown, which I think is great. Anytime we get foot traffic anywhere, there's an opportunity to get, you know, a $10 on $1 return on investment with foot traffic. The Fletcher Workforce Building that just opened up in Schriever. That's nurse, allied health, other workforce development. So that's something here close to you guys that is something that's dealing with workforce. So you can see we're out there rebuilding, but we're also trying to push forward and provide people with skills and opportunities that maybe people wouldn't have in the past. And I talked about the Lily Project through Cynthia, Louisiana, which is right here in the backyard, right? It's something that they're talking about building a factory and some job opportunities and what we can do in the workforce building to help make sure people have the skills to maybe take advantage of some of those jobs at a company like Cynthia. Any questions on this before I move forward? No? So I don't know how much you guys deal with this, but this is something I added since my last town hall. But permits take longer than they used to. It used to be 2 to 5 days. Now a lot of times it's 2 to 3 weeks. But you can see, and it's come down. It's down as of right now, but it's going to finish a little higher than where it is now when the rest of the year. So when you look at 2024 being just under 4,000 to date, we're probably going to finish around 6,000. I think we had 7,500 in 2023. And so we have more permits than we've ever dealt with before. And you can see at one point, it was 8,000 permits that we were dealing with when we traditionally dealt with the 2,000, 2,500 range. So one of the things that's been a lot of permits that we deal with is Restore LA. And so we actually just recently were able to bring some people in from Restore LA to help us deal with just the Restore LA permits. And so it's something we're working on every day, trying to make sure we got the right resources, we got the right software, we got the right training for us to process these permits faster, but also at the same time saying, hey, Restore LA just really overwhelmed us. Can you guys come help us out and get some more stuff processing? So I think that person's been in there for about a week and a half, or two people's been there a week and a half. But unfortunately, they are taking longer, and we are working on getting that down to what it used to be pre-storm. Insurance reform. So I talked a little bit about this earlier. So we have a few different things that are going on at one time. And so, you have your homeowners insurance crisis, and we have our flood insurance crisis. By show of hands, can you, if you don't mind, raising your hands and let me know if you feel like you're dealing with a homeowners insurance crisis right now? Show of hands. All right. Flood insurance crisis. Both. So that's about the number I've been seeing. And look, anytime insurance is more than it should be or what it used to pay, that's some level of a crisis depending on your specific financial situation. Story I like to tell is my aunt, she's actually selling her house. My aunt's 75 years old, selling her house, moving in with her ex-mother-in-law because she just can't pay insurance anymore. So it does affect us all, and we're trying to do everything we can. So from a homeowner's perspective, the legislature passed 26 bills this year. And look, in both situations, nothing's quick, right? It's going to take some time. The fact that we had 4 storms in the 24 months put us in a bad spot to begin with. But there are opportunities. In fact, the insurance commissioner came last night to West Houma Gym. The fortified home roof opportunities. There's wind mitigation grants. There's a few different grants out there that help try to get you every bit discount that you can. And if you have questions on some of this stuff, Mr. Ryan Page can actually help you with that after this, after we're talking. But there are opportunities to try to get your insurance lowered. But on top of that, like I said, they passed 26 bills that puts us more like Alabama and more like Florida to give us the opportunity to do some of the insurance savings they have done. But I also know numbers as far as I'm understanding, it was around 80-something thousand. Ryan, give me the stat. 80-something thousand in Louisiana citizens. What was Florida? Triple. Yeah, like triple in Florida, triple the residents in Florida on something like citizens versus Louisiana. So, different states are fighting the insurance issue, but we're definitely doing some things with our new insurance commissioner to make a difference there. We're also working on flood maps. So you got homeowners at the state level. At a local level, really work on FEMA and the flood maps and risk rating 2.0. We were part of a lawsuit that we got kicked out of, along with 40 other parishes of the 43. We're in the process of trying to get back into that lawsuit with FEMA, using the parish properties that have NFIP policies, National Flood Insurance policies, that we can get in that lawsuit and help fight there. But we're also working what's called a CLOMR, which is a conditional letter of map removal. So we've taken the parish and divided it into grids. And so FEMA has to do flood maps every 10 years. They rolled out the flood maps in 2019 from data from 2018 and before. So anything we did since 2018 is not in the maps. They don't recognize the levees, they don't recognize the pumps, which is causing issues that we're having on the flood insurance rates and flood insurance maps. So we're working with them to give them the data that they haven't had or they hadn't looked at since that time period. The unfortunate part about that first deal, it's going to cost the parish about $500,000 out of our general fund. It could take a year to 2, and we don't even know if it's going to reduce rates. But that's what the level of what we're going through as a parish to make sure we do everything we can that our residents have as low as we can on FEMA flooding and flood insurance, and also whatever we could do to help the insurance commissioner at that state level. Mr. Ryan Page, who is our HR risk management guy, was part of Tim Temple's transition team on insurance. And so we've really worked to make sure we got some, and I got to tell you, and our team that I announced earlier is got to be the best team in the state. We have some very hard-working directors and employees at the parish, and we're not successful without them. And so I'm doing everything I can to give them the tools they need. That's what I spent this first 6 months doing, was going through and change the way we manage people, giving everybody the tools they need, and having conversations about what's going well, what's not going well, and how they want to fix it, and really getting them set up for success and to thrive in their jobs so that we can then hold them accountable, and then being able to go after all these issues that we're dealing with in the parish while we were doing this. But it's been real important to me to make sure that our people have what they need. Any questions on insurance? None? Okay. Power plant. So it's something I get a lot of questions about. Our power plant was significantly damaged after Ida, or with Ida, to the tune that we are looking to replace the power plant, and FEMA's helping us pay for that. When I say helping us, they're basically paying for it all. You're looking at about a $170 million project. And when I talk about insurance and insurance in the parish, before Ida, we had about $65 million worth of coverage on all our buildings. After Ida, I think they dropped it down to about 20, 25, and then we were able to get back up to 45. But we had one building, one property at $170 million that we had to work with FEMA on, right? And so through that process, we've already been obligated $65 million. Obligated is probably better than received earlier, right? Obligated $65 million, but we can't do anything until we get the other $105 million. So what we've been doing is we've been working on what kind of power station do we want? How efficient can we be with that power? Is there an opportunity for us to sell that power into the grid and be more profitable with that power station? On top of that, trying to make sure, so we had an 80 megawatt power station. From Morgan City to New Orleans, we're in a 200 megawatt pocket. Of that 200 megawatt pocket, our generation station was producing 80. So because that's such a gap and such a large amount of megawatts, that's why FEMA was able to allocate the temporary generators that we have, but it only covers 20 megawatts. So when you look at those generators that are running out there, they cover a 20 megawatt gap. And when I say a gap is we don't produce power, and really no power is produced anywhere. I'm going to produce power for this city, I'm going to produce power for this area. Power is produced, put into a multi-grid, and then the power is distributed from that. So what happens is we get a call from MISO, and they say, I need power from your generation station or your generators. And if you don't have that, we run the risk of blackouts and brownouts. So without the 20 megawatts of temporary generator that FEMA's paying for, we would have possible rolling blackouts and brownouts. But that's part of the reason that was identified that we need to rebuild a power station, is because of the fact of we had to have temporary generators just to keep us whole. The cool part about that 80 megawatts, right now we have one feeder into Terrebonne Parish coming through Energy. We're trying to get a second feed through Sleeka. But if we were to get cut off completely and that power plant is built, it will sustain our parish. And so in the long game, in the long run, if we do have every possible thing go wrong, that power plant will make sure we still have power. Yes, sir.
Was that in the whole parish?
Yes.
Or just Terrebonne Parish?
Whoever's on Terrebonne Parish Power. I stand corrected. Whoever's on Terrebonne Parish Power. And I say that, and if Ernie's not here tonight, I could ask that. I could follow up on that. So I think there are some opportunities to backfeed some things somewhere. I know for sure at least Terrebonne Parish Utilities, but I will get a better answer on that, and we'll get you information. And I didn't say that also. There's some papers over there. If you have an issue, name, address, phone number, so we get back with you if you have a question. But if somebody could write that down, I think that's a good follow-up with Ernie, because I'd be told our region, but I want to make sure exactly what that is so we can have a better explanation for that.
I got another question to follow. So most people down here are sleeping. And for, at least a half dozen times this summer, we've lost power. But they've went up on the power bill to fortify for the fortification of the grid they've done since Ida. So if we're losing power on non-storm events, what kind of justification do you have for raising the power bill?
So I can tell you that when it comes to Sleeka is different than Terrebonne Parish Utilities to the aspect of they're regulated by the Public Service Commission. And so if there are issues, and as I understand, as they raise rates and as they adjust all this stuff, it has to go through that kind of approval. I know Energy's in that same boat where they've kind of go through the same process. If you look at what Terrebonne Parish utility costs were after Ida, we didn't come up right away because traditionally it's one of the lowest in the area. But at a certain point, we went above and was hired to cover some of those costs and then drop back down again. So I can tell you, I can get that information also and just kind of follow up. I know we have conversations with Sleek and we're trying to do some things. I know they're looking at expanding. I can tell you, and I'm going to talk about it, in fact, it's the last bullet on this slide. In Terrebonne Parish, as far as what we deal with Terrebonne Parish utilities, we had over 1,000 damages. And right now, we're working on phase 2, which is 847 repairs. And so I'd imagine that they're all kind of going through the same thing, and we've had some outages. And so there's an opportunity that once this is done for us in January of 25, that we'll have less issues. And imagine that they're going through the same process, but we could definitely get that information translated, or what we could do to have a conversation to make sure we're all on the same page for what we're doing and what that means for everybody.
Yeah, because if you pay a higher power bill, you would think you'd have more reliable power, not less reliable.
So I can tell you, in the parish's perspective, we have to buy power, and if the charge of that power goes up, if gas prices go up, or however that power is produced goes up, our charge goes up also. And so you would correlate that, but it's not necessarily the case because of the fact that in most cases everybody is buying power, not producing it, and you got to go off what you're having to pay for it, and that cost does get passed down. But again, I know if we're going through repairs, they have to be going through repairs, but that's something we can make sure we have that conversation and bring the parties together to get a better understanding of who, what, when, where, and why.
I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. I talked about generators. So we have 80 megawatt potential. FEMA's only going to pay for 80 megawatts, but we do have the capability to expand past that. So we're looking at maybe 100, 120 megawatts in the future through different partnerships. But that is what's going on with our power plant. And like I said, to date, they've been called on for about 300 hours of the temporary generators that we have. At the same time period in 2023, it was a third of that. And so you can see that, the summer months is going to be definitely a situation where power is called upon more. And look, my electric bill is higher now than it was last year and the year before that. And so I want to let you know we're in the same boat, right? Everybody else that's paying more, we're paying more insurance, we're paying more electricity, we're paying more for gas. It's just as important to us as it is to you to make sure it's affordable for everybody. And we are definitely feeling it also. Any questions on the power plant before I move on?
How much longer is that going to take before the deal comes, and then how much longer is that going to take before the plant is built? So
you say working on the deal. Which thing?
It's already been, 2 years plus?
With 3 years. We're on the 3rd anniversary of Ida.
So if you're still in the deal 3 years later, by the time the deal is done, how much longer before the plant can be built?
The power plant, that's probably a 4 or 5 year project.
Okay, so you're looking at close to 2030.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could be.
We can have a problem before then, though.
Well, and look, y'all
don't serve us. We don't even need to be hearing about Terrebonne. We're concerned about Sleeker because Sleeker claimed that they putting our bill high because the Mississippi River is low and they paying for barges. I was an electrical engineer, and they say they bought coal. They paying for coal that being shipped. And because the barges can carry less coal, but they being charged 50% by the coal, they charging us 150%. I calculate my bill, it's 150% of what my regular bill would be. Why charge me 150% when you're only paying 50% for coal?
So I can tell you when it comes to coal, Rotomaker is the coal plant, big coal plant in Louisiana. That system's going offline in 2027.
That's what I told him. I said, yeah. I mean, okay, they don't use it.
So
we use Sleeker. Terrebonne Parish people feel it's cheap. My friend tell me
can't directly control
he run his air conditioner all day and all night, and his bill is $130. I got to run mine only at night. Mine's $200 and something.
Well, we could definitely, maybe there's an opportunity for us to get sleek and have some conversations, and what I want to make sure is from a parish perspective, everybody has as much information of what we control, what we can manage, and then what we can do to help everybody, right? And to hear about Sleeka and hear about some of the things that are going on, that's definitely questions we can pose to them and do everything we can to make sure that they're being transparent and they're giving you guys the same information we're giving as a parish. I've been learning a lot about it in 7 months, and there's questions I have on it as far as, some of the stuff don't make sense, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure we get information and disseminate that to our residents and say, this is what we understand, and then from there, what can we do to make some of these conversations happen to give you guys information that you don't have. Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other questions on power or anything else? All right. Accountability. So this is something that's been real important to me. Right now we have over 500 properties in the condemnation process. And so what happens is a property gets reported. If it's deemed unsafe, we go through a process of notification, trying to understand why it's in that condition and what we can do to make sure that our neighborhoods and everywhere that people live are safe. And so we have 500 properties that are going through that process. We've been working on this since Ida. We have over $1 million of Recovery Act funding that is being spent to demolish, to do that inspection and demolish. And so as we work through that funding, it's probably not going to cover everything, and then we're going to look for other funding and an opportunity. But we are making sure, we're trying to do everything we can to make sure grass is cut and everything is to the level of where it's not affecting people's property values, and that we're trying to reduce as much blight as we can throughout the parish. And so that's where we are actively at. We have new ones that come in every day. We were processing about 25 a quarter. We're now up to about 50 a quarter, and we're getting ready to work with South Central Planning to do even more than that, and to make sure, again, that our neighborhoods doesn't have the blight that we've been experiencing for the last, probably decade or so, or even less with Ida. On top of that, we're working on some ordinance updates as far as nuisance and abatement. If people are continuing issues with their property, I feel like, as a property owner, we need to be responsible. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can for our neighborhoods and for our community to not reduce the value of other people's properties. And so we're looking at where if we have one property has the same issue over and over again, or one property owner that has continual issues with multiple properties, that stacks and that we hold them more and more accountable as it goes. We've been working on some panhandling and vagrancy. What we have is unconstitutional, and so we're looking to adjust that as some anti-camping opportunities, which most municipalities have been doing across the country. Recreation accountability, making sure that we have a master plan, making sure that no matter where you live, no matter how old you are, that you have access to better quality of life. And so I'm going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about recreation and what's going on in the recreation districts. We've done some things from a parish perspective to change the way we think about recreation, and I'll go into that a little bit. But I think on top of that, we need to make sure that, I know some rec districts don't have a pool, and I think that's something we got to look at, that whatever rec districts are doing things very well and have all the amenities that if one rec district has 10 amenities and the other one has 5, what can we do to get 5 in that other one? Or if one has 5 and the other one has 1, what can we do to make sure, again, that equal quality of life no matter where you live, no matter how old you are? And more foot traffic in the parish, right? More foot traffic, an investment in foot traffic returns on that investment tenfold. And so we want to make sure that foot traffic is up in all communities, right? And what we can do to make sure that people visit every inch of Terrebonne Parish and get to understand the great place we live and exchange. And when I sell Terrebonne Parish, I sell it on our culture. And to me, our culture is you, right? Everything that we do, we give you the shirt off our back. We get together and raise money for a great cause. We love a cause, so that means we can throw a party, right? Our culture and what we do. I want everybody that comes visit Terrebonne Parish to understand that our entire parish is that way, no matter where you live. Any questions on accountability? Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. I'm glad you said questions about accountability. That's what you said, right?
That's what I said.
Then give me a good explanation on Gibson, because I feel like we got treated the worst. And I see that you brought your supporters. That's good. But how are we supposed to support each other that used to be a community that's not a community no more? We hear all of this about Terrebonne Parish. That's good and lovely. But what about Gibson? Like, we are a ghost town, basically. We got $2 stores, 3 empty schools that still got electric and water in them, property taxes going up. People forgot about us because we ain't nothing but a ghost town. You pass through Market City, through Gibson to go to Houma, from Houma through Gibson to go back to Market City. And like, we got kids, our kids got to wake up extra early to go to school, get out extra late. When they get home, all they want to do is eat, do their homework, and basically get ready for the next day. We don't have no support system down here no more. Our grass stay high. You talking about grass, but the bayou side, you can't even look over the bayou to see the neighbors on the high side. Then the ditches, they stay high. The tractor people come 3 in a tractor. The first one go high, the second one go middle, then the third one go low, but when it's not really low. We basically getting used and abused. That's what we are. We really getting used and abused, so how we supposed to, if it ain't nobody from Gibson supporting each other, this just a show. This is a show, sir. And I know you just getting in the office, but we've been deprived. We've been deprived. And if it was up to us as a community, they should have heard our voices when we begged for our schools to get open. Stay open, I mean. They didn't hear us. Nobody heard us. You could talk to the oldest person in Gibson or the youngest. We all gonna feel the same way. You took everything from us that made us a community. Now you want to sit here and talk about Terrebonne Parish? That's good and dandy, sir. But even though we live in Terrebonne Parish, what about us? Yes, that's good that our elderly get together and they have something to eat at the gym every day or every, that's good. But what about us as a community? This is a ghost town. Ain't now one of your people will want to stay in Gibson. They'll run from this place. Because what y'all have, what the Terrebonne Parish have to offer Gibson?
So what do you need?
We need a lot of stuff.
I know you need a lot of stuff.
We just don't need police parked at the schools trying to police us. We need an equal opportunity to be like the rest of Terrebonne Parish. Grass cut, not just the grass cut, come check on us, see how we are really doing. Not just because November coming around the corner, or this coming around the corner, or that coming around the corner. Talk to each and every individual to see how our mental state is doing, how our community is doing, and how we are our people doing. We are getting deprived.
We're here to check on you, and that's why we're here, right? And so when you say supporters, most of those are employees, right? And these are, I told our employees, you don't have to come, but I want our residents to get to know the hardworking people in the parish that are doing everything they can and busting their butt to make our parish better, right? We're here today because I want to provide transparency, and we want to come to the communities, and we want to understand what the issues are. So we've already attended some stuff from a mental health and behavioral health and opioid perspective, and working on that at a regional level, because I feel like that's a big issue in our region, right? Behavioral health, mental health, opioids, or drugs in general. And so I believe in the past, when Terrebonne Parish got resources, all the parishes would dump their resources, all their issues into Terrebonne Parish, overwhelm our resources, and then we wouldn't have resources anymore. So I want to attack that from a regional perspective. And so we're working with Bayou Community Foundation, who has done stuff like build homes and work with other nonprofits in the region, so that we can make sure we're addressing an issue from a region perspective and we survive and fight it as a region. And so we're out here in the rural areas, right? I mean, I'm from Berg. I lived down in Bayou most of my life. I just now live in Houma. I like downtown Houma. That's where I live. But what I did in downtown Houma is formed a group of people together, and we started fixing stuff. And so you may or may not heard the Hatch Grant, but we raised money and we built the bandstand that's in the courthouse square, because I wanted downtown to be better, because that's where I work and I live. And so I've talked about this whole process that it's going to take all of us, right? We're a community that don't rely on the government to begin with. What I'm trying to make sure government is not a hindrance, right? And I believe in eating the elephant one bite at a time. So when we have conversations, and when you're going to talk to every employee, and part of the conversation we're having now is when somebody calls, ask them what they're trying to do. Somebody asked me a question that says, what happened to that mud that you do and do? I said, well, what do you need mud for? And then let's have that conversation, and that's what we want to do. That's why we're here.
I'm glad you did say that, because back then, And I got this from an old man. Back then, when y'all was cleaning out the ditches, y'all used to put the people mud on their property while they could decide what they wanted to do with it. They might have built the yard up. They might have used it for inconsequential things that they wanted to do with it. Like our park. Our park been like that for the longest before somebody even thought about touching it. And then they just thought about touching it like 6 months, less than 7 months ago.
So we got some things coming up that are going to address a lot of your questions. If you don't mind, I'd love the opportunity to go through it. And whatever is not addressed, I'm not leaving here till every question's answered. And we're here because I want our residents to have a voice, right? That's when I ran because I had enough, right? I wanted better. I wanted more. My daughter was leaving. My son was talking about leaving. And so I said, if I'm going to be here, I want to make it the best that it can be. Because I know it's an amazing place to live, and we have the best people in the world, but we're lacking opportunities. We're struggling as a community. We've lost 15,000 people in 10 years out of Terrebonne Parish. And so I want to stop that. I want to stop that bleed and then start doing what I can to give people an opportunity that left to come back, and then the opportunity for people not to leave at all. So I agree. And when we talk about eating the elephant one bite at a time, it's what's that biggest pain? Let's get that thing let's get that one addressed first, and let's figure out what we can do to work on the next one and the next one. Give me a second to get the microphone to you.
Okay, I see what he's getting at. You're talking Terrebonne Parish, but basically what he's saying, when will y'all come here and have a community meeting about Gibson and the things we want to deal with?
I feel like that's what we're here doing today.
Well,
just to let you know.
Like he says, you're doing a presentation about Terrebonne Parish. We understand that. The word Gibson hasn't come out your mouth yet. So there is a difference. You're talking about Terrebonne Parish, what has been done, but what are we really talking about? If you go to somebody's house and you want to compliment their house, you're going to talk about their house, not just their neighborhood. This is a house. So like what he's saying is, there's issues here that we're trying to see what is being looked at. I see what he's saying.
So, Gibson let you know that Gibson is going to have opportunities for all of this. This is just some of the projects, right? Because it's 26 projects and it's a lot to list. But we're doing this in the parish, and some of this stuff might be downtown to help the entire parish. Some of this stuff might be in the north side of the parish to help the south side of the parish, right? So what I'm telling you is we got funding coming, and I want to feel like every resident has an opportunity to have access to this. And so I'm giving you the plan as a parish. I've been here 7 months. This is what I've done. This is what we're working on. And my final thing before I leave, and that's why I asked about the presentation first. Let me let you know what we're doing, right? What we're doing, all these people behind you, what they're doing, what I'm doing, what our council members are doing. And then from there, what else can we do? So I'm not leaving till we get that information.
Okay, but I still, again, it says Terrebonne Parish. What I'm asking you is specifically about Gibson. Like, how do we know? Because most of the time money's allocated, nothing comes this way. Mm-hmm. Look at our roads, okay? I go to work at 5:30 every morning. It's pitch black. When's the last time you could see lines on either side of the road to keep us on the road, or lines in the middle of the road to keep people on their side of the road? You got big trucks with big lights. They're humming, flying at you, and they're carrying trailers. Most of the time, the trailer's on your side of the road, and you're hugging the road. You can't even see the road from the ground because you're being blinded. So why don't we have lines being painted, like, reflector lines? Every road should have that.
I agree, 100%.
It's very curvy out here, and like the lady alluded to earlier, you're gonna fly off in that bayou, ain't nobody gonna see you for hours. If they ain't flying behind you or see your headlights or something and you ain't dead already, you're in the water or you're smashed into a tree. You cannot see these roads at night. Those are simple things. That's a parish thing that should, it's a safety issue. Like,
I agree 100%.
There's so many concerns over here that are simple to fix, that are overlooked. These big projects are fine, but everyday safety over here, and like he said, caring and thinking about the residents is being overlooked.
So to say it's being overlooked, I'll give you an example. If we were to stripe every road in Terrebonne Parish, that's parish roads only, right? Because that's a state road over here, state road, state bridge. Just Terrebonne Parish roads is $3.2 million. I want to make sure I say something here, and I kind of depend on how the crowd goes to say it, but y'all do realize we do not have the money to do everything we need to do.
Okay, but I've seen multiple roads get done over and over. Why wouldn't it be a system where you go around and redo them after a certain time? Because I can guarantee you it ain't been done in 15 years.
So I've had meetings with DOTD, at least 4 of them since I got in office, and I'm asking questions about and having the conversation that says, if you can't get to it, give me the money, I'm gonna fix it, right? And so there are priority road projects that happen from a parish road perspective, and then from a state perspective, we're having conversations on a regular basis. I filed a state of emergency over St. Charles and Tunnel Boulevard. I don't know if anybody saw how bad that was. It was like this, concrete separated. And I said, at a certain point, I'm not waiting on the state. I'm gonna go fix it. We went out there to fix it. They stopped us from fixing it, and they said, we're gonna have it done by Saturday. And so what's important to me is safety. The kid that died, might have been a year or so ago, down this way, caught on fire, I knew that kid, right? And so these are our families and our kids that are dying and getting in accidents. And so it is important to me that we make everything safe. I am working on, if I put $3.2 million here, we don't have it over there, right? So something's got to suffer. And trying to do this if we got to fix all of our lift stations, what does that cost? Because right now we're fixing 1 or 2 a year. Well, let me get that total number, and let me go bring that to the federal government, the state government, and say, hey, can I have $1 million to fix all our lift stations? And that's the kind of conversations that we're having now. The efficiencies I've been working on and making sure everybody has the tools they need is making it where our parish employees can hopefully do more with what we have. Right? Instead of trying to add on taxes and everything else, let's try to make sure we spend that money more wisely. And I feel like we're already doing that. And so as we come to these meetings and get the information, I'm gonna tell you, most of them you're gonna tell me about, we already know about, and I've already had conversations going what it's gonna take. And I've already had conversations with DOTD, the secretary, the governor, going, number one, we need to be our own DOTD district, because we are a sub-district of New Orleans. And so right now we're having active conversations about us, St. Mary, Assumption, Lafourche, Terrebonne Parish, and maybe St. Charles Parish being its own DOTD district. We're also having conversations about trying to handle more of the grass cutting that DOTD does so that they can do some other things. And again, I'm trying to get a CEA for rich roads. I'm trying to get a CEA for ditches that says, if you can't get to it, let's work together, because what's most important to me is the safety of our residents. And so I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm working on finding the funding to fix it all. And I'm here in this community because I want to understand what this community needs. I want to tell you what we're doing from a parish. This is what we've done the past 6-7 months, and people say I hadn't done it fast enough to give this information out. This is going to be a reoccurring thing. And when we come out, the grants that are related to this stuff, we want to come back into the community and say, hey, this is the things we have. This stuff is grant. This is, I look at all these things. This is across our parish, and making sure that every need and every issue that needs to be addressed can get addressed. So, and bear with me. Like I said, let me finish going through this a little bit. We're going to answer more questions. But we are here to figure out and make sure we address every issue in every community throughout our parish. And I think, look, the directors, they didn't have to be here. I asked them to, I didn't force them to, and they're here because they're also just as worried and just as concerned and want to help just as much. Had a question in the back?
I guess what you're trying to tell us is that right now this meeting is kind of giving everybody a high altitude view of what your plan is for the parish. And I'm sure your people that are in-house and maybe the consultants that you hire are going to probably drill down into these communities and find out specifically what we need to do to improve our quality of life. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And some of this is stuff you might not have known before I was elected. So some of this is maybe some of that. And then some of the stuff we've done since I've been elected and the things we're looking to do in the future. Question over here. What's that?
Can you explain the qualifications for the small business grants?
So we don't have that yet. So
okay.
We're going to the state and saying we want to help small businesses in Terrebonne Parish. Okay. So they could say, we're going to give you $1 million, we're going to give you $5 million. So depending on how much funding we get, then we say, okay, what is the best bang for the buck to provide help for small businesses? And some of it's going to be, again, low to moderate income, economic development, resiliency, and helping make sure that what you try to do is what I would call a fair process and an application to make sure that people that really need it really get it.
Yeah, that's
right?
what my question was like. So it won't be like a certain type of business or just for Terrebonne Parish, like in Houma?
It will be Terrebonne Parish.
Well, yeah, that,
Right.
but like if they have like a barbershop in Gibson or a daycare, they can apply for that.
That's the plan.
Okay.
And as we get the funding and as they, part of this project application is on that specific one, they might say, well, you got to have these requirements or it's got to meet this specific thing. And again, it might be this one has specific requirements because we're giving money to people versus one of these other ones might be a project, right? But at the same time, when it comes to projects, I'm hoping that our local companies, our parish companies, have an opportunity to bid on and get some of this work to do some of these projects that might, maybe a grant application helps somebody have the opportunity to bid on a project to do some of the work at one of the other categories.
Okay.
But this is parish-wide. We are Terrebonne Parish, right?
Yes.
So we are no matter what, no matter where we live, we are Terrebonne Parish. And I want you to be proud to be here and live here. And, I could feel it in where I had the opportunity. So I do computer work around the country and sometimes around the world. And I could live in Baton Rouge. I could live in Dallas. I could live in all those places. I could be doing that right now. But I said, you know what? I want more out of Terrebonne Parish. We deserve more. I feel like we have struggled for a while, and that this is, I think, one of the best places to live in the world. So I want to commit to doing what I can to help make the parish be what I know it can be. And that's why I'm here, right? And that's, again, opportunities for residents, opportunities for business, quality of life, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here. But we're here because we want to, and I'm doing a lot of talking and presentation as I go through this, and as we come back more, it's probably less presentation, more listening. But I do want to show you guys, and that's why I'm answering a question during this, because I want to get every question answered.
Okay, I got one more question. The Activate the Bayou program, with that, I know she talked about the lilies in the bayou. Would that fall under that active bayou program? And also, with the young men we're talking about, we're always left out. So if that is considered under the active program, can you start here in Gibson first to clear out the lilies with the money, then start at Bayou Terrebonne? Because we missing our shoe pick, we missing our purchase, we missing all the good fish because the lilies have taken over and we cannot see anything in the bayou.
There's definitely a conversation around, look, we all hate the lilies, and I hear about the lilies from the top of the parish to the bottom of the parish, right? And so when we had conversations with Wildlife and Fisheries, because they deal a lot with that, they do a lot of tracking, they do some spraying, we met with them because we want to understand, again, that same conversation. So we met with DOTD, we met with Wildlife and Fisheries, we met with the Coast Guard, we met with Corps of Engineers, and we met with every person that we can to say, what can we do to work together to fix this? And so the Activate the Bayou program probably wouldn't be enough money to clear out the lilies maybe throughout the parish, but what the goal is to make sure that the bayou is healthy, it's accessible, that it's maintained. And so part of being able to maybe dredge some of the bayou, give us an opportunity to maybe get rid of some of the lilies. But as we go through, again, the state's got to tell us, they said, I like your plan, give me an application that gets in more detail about it. And I do believe there is some crossover, right? And there's some opportunities. And as we look at some of the funding in this is going to be related to pumps. And one of the things I can tell you, and Noah back here, my chief administrative officer in the white shirt, he's been up and down, especially in this region, because we're talking about where water is or where water was or where water should be and what we can do to move water around. Right now we have to pump it out, right? But there's opportunities where maybe we could put some sluice gates where water can flow naturally instead of it always pump. Because if I could save money on pumping and let water flow, then I can maybe use that money somewhere else, right? One of these pumps to change the oil is like $6,000. So the more I run it, the more I got to change the oil. Well, if I can maybe do something to put an opening and let water naturally flow like it used to, then maybe that addresses some of the things, or maybe there's some things that we can do as we add things to direct that maybe stops the lilies from getting here or going there. And so I can tell you that's something we are actively working on, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. A program that we launched, Revitalize the Bayou, I'm missing the name on it, but Bayou Revival is exactly about that, about bringing our bayous back, making them healthy, maintaining them, and it being a multi-pronged approach, and trying to understand what each community needs. So I've had to guess probably Lily's is number one and planning and zoning is number two in the amount of conversations I've had since I've been in office. So, any other questions before I get back where I was? Yes, ma'am.
I have another question on that about the lilies. There's a vegetation that is totally growing over that. So from one side of the bayou until the other side of the bayou, you don't see water at all. It's totally covered, and I think it's very dangerous, which is causing more accidents. And even if you learn to swim, like you want to get the children at swimming things and learning them in that, if an expert swimmer is out there doing an accident, there's no way they could swim through all that vegetation, even to help their children. So what can you do about that in Gibson? Because it is bad, bad.
I agree, and I can tell you we're working on it. So we're gathering information. We're trying to fix it. Again, if I could eliminate lilies and love bugs, I really think I could run for governor. So, but my importance now is Terrebonne Parish. And again, we've been having these meetings and saying, what are you doing? What are you responsible for? What if we do this? You know, and again, when you look at that Cynthia company, they were talking about processing 100 tons of lilies a day, right? That right there could be the solution, right? But we got to help get them in place. They got to build a factory. They got to do some other things. No matter what we do, I can tell you it's not going to be fast enough for us. But we're going to definitely do everything we can. What can we do to go out into the areas where it comes from? You know, if it's coming down there intercoastal, if it's starting off at some of these ponds and everything back here, is there a way for us to stop it there, not let it get over this direction? And then again, I see a pond that has no water entrance whatsoever, has lilies in it. Well, they're getting there somehow, right? They're not flowing in that spot. So even in a situation where we block it from flowing or killing it, you know, coming through the air with birds and seed dropping into some ponds. And so it's definitely something we're having an active conversation about. So, thank you. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that a little bit. So we do need to take a more proactive approach with lilies. The earlier we start working on the lilies, the better we're going to be. We need a little help from Mother Nature too. We need a better winter. We didn't have much of a winter last year, and they did not allow for that crop to really go down like it needs to. Now, we can't rely on a good winter. But I'm telling you what we will do is we will be more proactive going forward with this administration on attacking lilies when they start growing in the spring rather than waiting with wildlife and fisheries in the summertime. Now, they have a limited budget, right? They can only do so much. I think they have $5 million to cover the whole state, not just for water lilies, but all sorts of aquatic plants that they got to spray. So we can't rely on them to tackle the problem. We got to be more proactive, and I promise you that's something we're going to do. But it starts with get first, right after winter when they start growing, attacking them then, because if you wait, it's almost like fighting a losing battle. So that's the plan.
Thank you, Noah.
But anyway, isn't there a company that's supposed to be moving into the Gibson area to harvest lilies?
This bottom company right here, that's the one I've been talking about.
Oh, okay.
Cynthia, they're talking about moving, they're going through 100 tons of lilies a day.
Yeah.
But we got to get them, they got to build a factory. You know, it's not a quick
tons, you
fix.
said?
100 tons. Again, they asked us. They're like, we don't know if you guys got enough lilies. I'm like, oh, we got enough lilies.
You know, like when I was a young man, the Corps of Engineers used to have quarter boats in Terrebonne Parish spraying water lilies, round the clock, 24/7. Why don't they do that anymore?
That's a great question, sir.
I mean, my uncles used to work on those quarter boats, and that's all they did, spray water lilies.
As I understand, it's been they used to do it, and then they did it, and they did it, and really it's really fallen on us. Like Noah said, wildlife fisheries is in charge of a lot of areas, but if they come in summer, we're going to, that's the kind of conversation we're having. They're going, we can't come out till summertime, and we're going to be like, okay, look, we're going to go earlier. We could probably do it cheaper. We could probably do it faster. So give us some of the funds that you're looking to do in summer, and maybe we could do it for a third or quarter of the price by doing it sooner. And that's the conversations we have on a regular basis. Yes, ma'am.
I have another issue that I'm concerned about, because I ride the Council on Aging bus, and government that you had used to put shelves on the little side roads, and they are so bad. I mean, you almost have to go to the hospital after you go down some of these roads to pick somebody up. And I know the government used to, when Wayne Thibodeau was in your position, he made sure that our roads were shelved, and that in front of our house we had shelves where, like, you know, like our land is sinking down here also. And but it's real bad.
Can you give us the
roads.
road names, or if you want to get one of our ladies after?
The road bike, right next door there by the store, going back there to those trailer parks.
Right.
That one is real bad.
We're gonna get that road name.
I don't realize, huh?
We're gonna get with our public works person and understand what's the schedule on it. That's private.
Next door, but the road's like this.
Right.
Yeah. And the Williams,
right.
and where up where I live, the Williams have a road. It's real bad.
So the private property road, and I've learned this because I want to go fix stuff, and it's basically illegal for us to fix private roads. So in that situation, working with that landowner or whoever owns that road, that's something they have to fix, because if we go do it, we can actually get sued for doing it. But any other road that's a public road, a government road, let us know some roads you know have issues.
Time ago, why
They might have been transferred to be a private road at some point. But we'll check it out. We'll see if we can understand. So, any other questions? We'll move on. Yes, sir. We can talk about drainage.
The lateral ditches that run from the bottom swamp area, especially in my area, from Black School to Greenwood or Mount Pilgrim Church. We don't have a levee in the back of us, but all the ditches from Sylvain Road all the way to Gibson, the lateral ditches that run to Big Black, all of them clogged up. I was told that you had to have a right-of-way, and I don't think nobody that have these ditches on their property would have a problem for the parish to come and clear out these ditches, the lateral ditches that run to Big Black. We have water when it rains. The water stays there for 16 days before it's able to evaporate or settle. So when the water sits for days and days, the property drops. The property drops down. So the problem that we have, especially in my area, the lateral ditches are all clogged up. The water can't run from the bottom swamp area to Big Black.
So, and I know we've had some conversations about that area. I know specifically related to the levees. We couldn't do the levees because we couldn't get the rights for the property to do the levees back there, so we weren't able to do that. And David Rome, my public works guy, is not here. Noah, you remember our latest conversations on the lateral ditches on that side of the bayou? And if not, you don't recollect it, we'll circle back up with David and come back to you, but we have had conversations about it. Everything like Mount Pilgrim Church and all the lateral ditches running on the other side. Does that ring a bell on anything in
terms of maintenance?
Yes.
Just keeping up, talk about vegetation.
Right.
Yeah, we're actively, I mean, that's one of the first things when we looked at, we talked about Bayou Revival and all that stuff. It was, obviously Gibson and Bayou Black is part of that, and a big part of that. Where are deficiencies at? We noticed a lot of deficiencies in Gibson for vegetative maintenance. So yeah, we have had those conversations, and we have our vegetation contracts coming up at the end of this year to be rebid out, and that's going to be more prominent in those contracts for lateral ditch maintenance and preventative spraying and lily maintenance. So yes, we're looking at that right now.
And I'll double check with David on anything past that, and if we get you fill out one of the papers, so we give you a call and let you know.
More than just vegetation, though. The ditches are all sunk in. It's almost like flat land. They need to be
dug. The same lateral ditches?
They need to be dug out and took to the
Right.
from the back to the front. It's not just the vegetation, it's the ditches have collapsed. They need to be dug out.
Yes, sir.
So it's more than vegetation.
We're going, and I'll tell you something that we've had conversations when we look at vegetation. When we look at vegetation, it is that conversation about, is cutting it going to be enough, or do we need to do more than that? And that is something that we look at as we go through certain areas. And some of these areas I've learned, well, maybe we didn't maintain that ever before, or maybe there's a situation with property and all, but we're working to identify. And my long-term goal as I go through some of these things is to have all this stuff on a map. You see what's maintained, how often it's maintained, and what we can make sure we do to report that kind of stuff, where hopefully at some point you can either pick up the phone or put on an app and say, I got an issue right here. And that gets to the person that needs to have it. And again, it's that conversation that says, well, maybe this is maintained twice a year or whatever it is, or maybe there's some situations where something needs to be maintained more often than that. And look, as we deal with the state and what they cut, the state cuts the roadsides and everything else it touches, Highway 90, 7 times a year. Well, there's a certain conversation that says, like, I know I can't cut my grass 7 times a year. I got to cut my grass more than that. And that's what we're working on doing is they cut it 7. We need to maybe cut it 4 more times. And then working to make sure, again, if say they do it and it costs them $100,000 and I can do the same thing for 50, well, I can maybe do twice the work if they just give us the funding. And those are the conversations that we have on a regular basis. Yes, sir.
If the state's telling you they're cutting 182 7 times a year, they're lying to you.
I agree with you.
They're cutting it once a year.
Right.
That's after you call and get on their butts for 2-3 months to get it
I hear
done.
you. Yes, sir. All right. Anybody else before I move on? Y'all good? Okay. Have I covered anything there? Yes. So quality of life rebranding. I did talk about this a little bit so far. Mr. Jim Window, who's been going around and passing the mic. So we used to have something called TPR, Terrebonne Parish Recreation. And I've coached in that. I played when I was a kid in TPR, coached in it in football, baseball, a couple other sports, volleyball. I felt like when we called it TPR, that when you say recreation, people think kids. And I go back to the conversation of saying I want to make sure no matter where you live, no matter how old you are, you have that opportunity to recreation of what we're now calling quality of life. And TPR has had a turbulent history, so sometimes a brand new refresh or new way to think about things is an opportunity, and that's why we put Mr. Jim Wendell, who used to be a council member in Lafourche, did a lot of stuff in recreation in Lafourche Parish, and so we said, we want you to help us rebrand TPR to what we call quality of life. And underneath that, we created 3 sub-departments, and this is where we're starting, not where we're going to finish. So what we had as far as football, baseball, basketball, all those programs, we're calling athletics and leisure. We had HDDC, we had our Main Street downtown, a marina. We did, anything that kind of dealt outside of what we'd call a program, we're calling community enrichment. And we said, okay, this is what we already have. So, for example, downtown Main Street area used to be under planning and zoning. We said we want to put that underneath community enrichment, and we want to work with our nonprofits, we want to work with volunteerism, and we want to work with outreach. And so that's where we started. Again, this is a change we made probably about 5-6 months ago. And so our second area was community enrichment. And then our third area being venues and destinations. So you used to have to go to one person to book an auditorium and another person to book the Civic Center. So we're sticking all that in one place. So the Bayou Country Sportsplex, the Civic Center, auditoriums, the parks that belong to the parish, the downtown marina, and actually at some point the Air Base Park, because on the east side always says they don't have what the west side have, and so we want to give them a Bayou Country Sports Park for themselves, and we're looking to do that with the Air Base Park. And so this is what we've done. To me, we're having a different conversation that we call quality of life, and as I understand it, the first quality of life department in the state, because that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about more than recreating children. We want to talk about everybody's quality of life. Again, no matter where you live, no matter what your age is. And so I feel like this is big, and Jim's really done a bang-up job of really making sure we try to get the message out, rebuilding some relationships with the rec districts. And again, that service of what can we do to help you? What can we do to make sure every recreation district has equal. You know, we have some gold standards in throughout the parish, but every recreation district should be that gold standard and should have every activity and should have, you know, everyone should have a pool, a pavilion, all these other things that only some of the red districts have. We want to make sure that all of our red districts have. And so it's something I'm real proud of. It's something that I came in and said, I want to call it quality of life. And then our directors took it from there and said, we should do this and we should combine that. And I was like, let's do what we can to make that better. And so any questions on quality of life before I move forward? All right. Bayous, we talked about bayous a little bit. We talked about Bayou Terrebonne dredging. Again, we had some money when we got in office that was already dedicated to that. We're doing everything we can to get that bayou cleaned all the way to the parish line. We're working to introduce more water flow into Bayou Terrebonne. We're doing that through a couple different opportunities. But again, to have those waterways be healthy. And what we're doing in Bayou Terrebonne, we can say, I'm going to do the same thing in this bayou that we did in Bayou Terrebonne. What does that funding look like, or where can I get that funding from? Derelict vessels I talked about. We have over 900 derelict vessels in our waterways. So think about that. We got 500 derelict properties. We got 900 derelict vessels in our waterways. We have $1 million on insurance. We're trying to do best bang for the buck, so we said, where's the best area that we could get the most vessels, demob and mob, and so we're starting with there, but that's a conversation we've been having at the federal level. We want to make our waterways healthier. We want to make sure that we are Louisiana's bayou country and that we have access to our waterways, but that's part of the thing we have to do, and some of this stuff's been there since before Ida. And so that's why in a lot of situations we can't even use post-Ida FEMA funds for this, because it was there before. And so part of this cleanup we're doing and part of the revitalization we're doing is all around what's been going on for the last 10 years, right? And then talking about the Bayou Revival Campaign, I can't believe I remember that name. We did some trash mitigation during Mardi Gras. There were some fences along the bayous that we're trying to do what we can to stop trash from getting in the bayous, and then we put some berms along bridges to make sure that those trash don't get to the Intercoastal Canal, right? And so we're having conversations with the crews. What can we do to put less trash on the ground? In turn, that saves money. It allows us to maybe take some of that funds and use it in other places. But going through all of our bayous and making sure they're clean, they're dredged, they're maintained, they're healthy. We added some litter signage, talking about if you litter, it's a fine, and like cleanup of all the major bayous in Terrebonne Parish. Yes, sir.
Does that mean people, our residents in our area, are putting trash on the side of the road in Big Bayou Black? In this area, we have trash that's being dumped on the bayou side in North Bayou Black. And some of the trash is so close to the road, if you take your eye off the road, you can run into some of this trash that's hanging up. Now, they do come down every now and then and pick up some of the trash. But I see in my neighborhood, they picked up some trash and they left, and then they went further down the bayou and picked up trash. Why they didn't just continue on picking up the trash instead of passing up trash to go pick trash up?
So is that one of the grapple trucks, one of the debris trucks doing that?
Right.
So let us get that information, those areas. So one of the things that we've done is that we have heavy dumping in an area. We've been putting cameras, and we could see stuff coming in and going out, and we've been catching people dumping. And as you can see, there's been some areas that used to be, especially like on LA 20, around the railroad tracks, there was a big dump area. Well, now there's a camera watching that area, and last couple times I passed, I don't see the trash that's there. So if you're aware of people that are constantly dumping in an area, call and let us know.
Is there an ordinance on this?
Oh, yeah. There's an ordinance on this.
Okay, well, we have parish people that I see them in the trucks, and you can see, I know they see the trash on the side of the road, like cement from the highway been put on the edge of the road, the shoulder of the road, you know. And my thing is, when they come with the truck, just pick up all the way, instead of picking up a piece here and then go ride down there. You wearing and tearing on the truck and fuel and diesel and stuff.
No, not only that, when people clean up, I guess they clean up their garage, let's say that. or they getting rid of old furniture. They just throw it on the, say, bayou side. Do they have to call someone to have them pick that up?
So, and I got Clay Knocking, who's our solid waste supervisor. I'm a director. I'm going to talk a little bit, and if you want to add to that, Clay, please do. So, with our trash pickup contract, if they see something, they let us know. But we do have where you can call and get debris picked up, and whether it's your debris or somebody else's, if you see debris's been there a little bit, don't assume we know. And that's one thing I want to make sure I say through this entire process. We all travel the road. Look, they hate it when I get on the road because I'm always sending pictures going, what's going on with this, and why is that not fixed, and this needs to be picked up, and that needs to be cut. But even though we have our parish workers going around, and I go around, and I try to take different routes all the time to see if I can see something that needs repair or needs to be fixed, resolved. So don't assume we know, let us know. And in a situation where somebody's come pick up one and they skip the other ones, we want to know that too. And I don't want to speak for Clay, but I can tell you, Clay's going to want to say, he's going to want to know that our group picked up one thing and skipped over the next couple. You want to comment to that, Clay, at all?
We are called for service, the grapple trucks. All I can tell you is when you see a pile, call so we can put it on the list. The drivers don't have too much leeway because, like today, I think we are about 200 calls for service right now. So we try to get all the debris piles. They are told not if they pass by one, but a lot of times the debris on the side of the road is questionable if it's an illegal dump or if it's on private property. So most of that stuff gets vetted through us and through the office, and it's put on a list. But if you want this stuff picked up, the easiest thing is to pick up the phone or go on the internet, report it, and it will be put on the list, and we usually get to all those piles within 14 business days. Now, I can tell you, North by Black is a big issue. When we do clean sweeps, we pick it up, and within a week later, we go right back down. It's like, where did all this stuff come from? It's a constant battle on North by Black.
And so to answer your question, why they might pick up one and skip the other, if that's on private property and we pick it up, we get a phone call saying, why you picked up my thing, now you owe me money or whatever. So the guys that are driving have that route, and if something's missed, call us up and say, hey, this address right here, and we could work that out through Clay. So that's what I'm saying. We've picked up trash and get a phone call that we shouldn't have picked that trash up, right? So Clay doesn't leave it on the drivers to make that decision. They get a list, and if you see something not picked up, we ask that you call us so that he can vet out, we can pick this up, we can't pick this up. Oh, by the way, we're going to call our property owner and say, you need to do something about this. Or they get turned over to nuisance and abatement, which is a different process, but it allows us the opportunity to hold them accountable from that perspective. Okay, thank you. Any other questions before I move on? And I thank y'all. I know it's taking a little time, but I appreciate it, and I'm going to be here as long as you want me to. Roads and bridges, and I think we're actually near the end right here. So this is kind of the conversation of things that are going on, and again, if you look at the DOTD list for the next year, I want to say it's got about 30 projects on it. Noah, is that about right? Maybe a little more than that, 30, 40 projects. We picked out a few here, just kind of ones you hear about a lot. Savannah Road, bridge replacement, that's one of the projects. That should be 2025, that's a typo, we'll fix that. 3185 and Main Project Road, they're talking about a roundabout. I know they got the 4 stop signs right there. That'll help traffic flow a little bit better. We got a few bridges. We're expediting grass, we talked about that. Grass cutting and water lily maintenance. Again, it's on here because we're having those conversations. And like Noah said, we want to get ahead of it at the front of when it's happening, not try to address it when it's already too late. And then working on funding for road striping and major roadways. So So we're aware of it. Like, that's why I brought you to let you know. We are aware. We're having the conversations. And again, I'm trying to have those conversations that says, what does DOTD do? What can we help you with? And then what can I get the funding to just handle on our own? So, any questions on this? Or I know we talked about a lot of this.
I'm there pretty much all day.
And so,
Give you a call.
Okay.
And, you and
your
I
feedback matters.
conversation.
If you know how to scan a QR code, you can scan this QR code. If not, you can get with the people in the back here, and they'll take your survey manually, because I want your feedback. I want to know what you thought of what we talked about today, and that's what I wanted to cover. And then anything that we didn't miss, I asked gentleman to wait. I don't know if he's still here. Looks like he left. I wanted to go through everything to see what we didn't cover, because I want you to know we're aware of a lot of issues. And the next step is, what did we miss? What do we need? What's that first step of the mountain we're going to climb? Oh, drop the keys. What's that? You know, I believe in eating the elephant one bite at a time, climbing the mountain one step at a time. And so we want to understand what that first bite looks like, what that first step looks like for this community to get you moving forward with the rest of our parish. So again, I thank you for your time. I thank you for being here. I answer questions till you guys are done asking them. But I really want to thank you again for making the time and giving us the opportunity to hear you. Any questions? Anybody? Yes, ma'am. Hold on, give us a second to get to you with the mic.
Sir, I would like to know, when will all this happen? There's a lot of things up there.
I can tell you we're working on it every day. So if there's anything specific you're curious about, you know, again, with the CDBG-DR money, I'm hoping to start having some of that funding by the end of the year. But I can tell you we are actively having conversations on the road issues, the grass issues. And look, some of the tractors work with Clay. He started cutting, like wherever some of the bridges met, state highways, started cutting those edges so that cars can see better. And so in some roads, if they were passing and they saw it was high, they'd drop them over and they'd cut it anyway, even though we're not supposed to. So what I ask you is that if you have a specific issue, give us an address, give us a picture, let us know what's going on and what can be fixed. And again, what does that first step look like for this community to help you get back on your feet? And I'm all about doing everything we can to give a hand up and then help our people be successful and provide them opportunities.
Okay, we take your word now.
Yes, ma'am, and I'll be back to answer to that, right? This is not going to be the last time I do this. My plan is to do this on a regular basis, and at any time you can call us and say, hey, I got this issue that needs to be addressed. You know, I get people call and say, hey, I want to meet with you. And I'm like, I'm booking like 2 weeks out. But if you give me the issue, a picture, your name, the address, in most cases, that issue is going to be resolved before we even get an opportunity to sit down. And that's what we're doing. We're giving these directors that information and having a conversation that says, what's the protocol on how we fix this? Why do we decide to do this instead of doing that? Or why is it, you know, how often is this cut? What can we do to make it more often? Or what we can do to make it more effective? And in some situations, we might have to cut it and then spray it to get it back on its spray schedule. In some situations, we might only be able to spray. In some situations, we have right-of-way issues where we can't get to things and cut it. And in those situations, unfortunately, we have to just spray it. But report the issues to us. Don't think we know. Let us know what your issues are so we can resolve them. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Horace Johnson.
You didn't have to say your name. I know your name. I think everybody in this room knows your name.
But however, I understand what you're proposing here tonight, that it got its due process that they have to take. But my concern is a lot of local issues that here in Gibson is just not being addressed. And you know, you and I talked about this to you during election time, and at this time it still hadn't got attention been brought to it. And so we're talking about the grass. And here's the issue here in Gibson. The grass along the road, the branches is almost in the center of the road. I'm exaggerating, but they're going to grow to the center of the road because ain't nobody maintaining them. And I hear what you're saying, but I'm letting you know tonight that if you drive along North Bayou Black, the limbs is just about in the road. I talked to Mr. Hardin about it. I'm saying it to you tonight, that this has been an ongoing thing. I hear you talk about the state. The state have took care of their issues. If you ride 90, going back this way, the state done cut their limbs back to the bayou. On the North Bayou Black side, the limbs, you can ride along. It's just, if you got two cars beating together close, you're going to run into some limbs that's sitting in the road. I mean, things like that should be addressed.
I agree with you, by the way. And my guy that deals with that, I see his head up, kind of looking and listening.
Yeah.
He knows when I'm done, I'm going to go, hey, Clay, when's the last time we made a pass down there?
And you need to get on him. You definitely need to get on him, because this is you inherit this, because that's how long it's been.
Right.
And the things I'm talking about is inherited to you. So basically that those things need to be addressed. I don't know if somebody comes back out, if you make a complaint, and check and see have those issues been taken care of. I don't think that's happening, because this been, before you got in office, the day, I can ride you down there right now, and you're going to see the same activity. I can ride you along 90. The state actually took care of their business.
Right.
But the parish, still the same. The other issue is,
so if you don't mind real quick, Clay, do you want to talk about limbs and cutting and all that stuff? If you don't mind, I'd like to, if you could talk.
Well, let me give him a whole package deal,
okay,
because we've been talking.
Right.
Okay, the next issue here, that along North Bayou Black Drive, I can promise you along the road edge that you got to drop this fur along the road edge along Bayou Black Drive. If you don't watch what you're doing, I guarantee you your car will hit the chassis. That's how deep the drop is along the road. I mean, that's no, and look,
you talking about ditch, shoulder ditch?
No, I'm talking about the shoulder to the road.
Okay.
The shoulder to the road, and it's been like that. Well, it's all along, and I want to just. No, I could point out some areas. Let me just tell you.
We want you to point out some areas, right?
You
if there's some
right
areas you know are bad.
No. You could go right by the Gibson East Fire Station.
Okay.
And you can see from the Gibson East Fire Station, that's the way it is all along in Gibson. Okay, and so things like that's why we paying taxes. We don't have to depend on the money from the government to get these issues taken care of, because we paying road and bridge taxes. And so that's why those things should be maintained. So it's clearly that these things, and look, you inherited, this stuff has not been taken care of, and it still tonight have not been taken care of. Those things need to be taken care of tomorrow morning, that if Clay, this guy, is the guy that we need to talk to, well, you could tell him tomorrow morning he needs to have some gravel in his tractor and put some shoulders along the road, get them tractors to cut those branches back. That's maintenance that we paying taxes for. The next thing is the lines in the road. Again, this is stuff that you inherit. If we want to talk about safety, here we paying road and bridge taxes. We in Gibson, we can't tell, as he said earlier, we can't tell which side the road that we're on. And listen, especially when it's raining, you can't make the discernment where you are when you're riding along that road. If we want to talk about safety and the dangers, well, that's the dangers and all the things that I could tell you about that we facing in Gibson, that we don't have to wait on that money. This stuff should have been done. I understand you inherited, you've been here 7 months, but now I'm letting them know that I'm telling their boss that tomorrow morning we should see some action, because those things are real bad, and they've been bad. The next thing that we wants to talk about is, I talked with Mr. Pulaski, and Mr. Pulaski is supposed to have a pool of money, and I didn't hear that. That's not included in that money, isn't that right?
What pool of money for what?
He got a pool of money that he's trying to distribute, and trying to distribute equally across the parish.
For what, though?
For, I think you did say, to the nonprofits. or something to that effect. But I talked to Mr. Pulaski. He in here.
So Mr. Pulaski's our planning and zoning guy. I can tell you he definitely doesn't have funding to give the nonprofits.
No.
So I just want to make sure when you say pool of money.
Let me back
if he does, I want to know.
Well, let me bag that up, let me bag that up. Mr. Pulaski got a certain amount of money that he's supposed to have done.
So the money I know he's working with
is
the money that we're using to demo houses. That's the
all
only money that he is working with. Now, he's helping us with our CDBGDR, that $117 million.
Is that money is included in the money I'm talking about? Because let me fast forward.
Well, it depends if he had it or will have it.
Well, he doesn't have it.
The CDBG we're working on getting is what I would call a pool of money to help our parish.
Okay,
right?
well, let me just say this then. Let me just bypass that because I met with Mr. Pulaski some time back.
And he's right there. Mr. Pulaski's right there, by the way.
And then the thing is, maybe he can clear me up.
We can clarify that after. How about that?
Okay, that's fine. But anyhow, I just want to say this. It's money that him and I had a conversation about. And we was talking about the quality of life. And so one of the things that I said to Mr. Pulaski that here in Gibson, I mean that we would like to be a part of getting a share of that money. And here with the rec center, and I was supposed to talk to the rec board, but I'm just going to say it because I didn't get a chance to talk to the rec board about it because me and Mr. Pulaski talk about we could put a facility here or add on to this facility and put like basically a recreation center, not a recreation center, a weight
community center.
Well, a weight center for the elderly. Something that for the elderly to come and work out is one of the things that I was making a proposal to him, like weights. But the whole thing in a nutshell, coming to ask you all as the parish president and the council to give us an expert trainer that you would put them on the payroll, get about $60,000 a year, and get a trainer here to come and every day to help the elderly here. That's what one thing that I proposed to Mr. Pulaski. He said, well, that would be a good idea, but I would have to talk to the rec board and see if they would be acceptable to that. That's what some of the things that...
So one of the things I know a few of our rec boards do, and I thought I've been in here with it, where there's like a coordination between Council on Aging and the rec district to do some stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to make sure that that's being done everywhere because it's not being done everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so there are lunches, there are some other things with crafts and all. And so we want to make sure we have that, but then what is that next step? That if we can maybe do something with exercise.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting some exercise machine, whirlpools. We elder, I'm coming to my retirement. Right. And I'm saying that we get that share money, Billy, but come to you all and get about a $60,000 where we can hire a professional to come in and train the elderly to be able to get the right fit, where we can be able to be more better healthy. And so that's what I had talked to Mr. Pulaski, and I just wanted to know if that was that money is in a part of that money you're talking about. That's where I was driving to.
So there are a few different ways. Mike's long. Okay. There are a few different ways for us to address that. To say that specifically something in $117 million could use for that. There are community center conversations. There's a lot of conversations about recovery post Ida, and so what we want to understand is the needs throughout the community, and then where can we fit that into the funding we're receiving, and then bringing quality of life into the conversation and what they could do at recreation districts, and then what they can also do with Council on Aging, again, to make sure we have all the necessary programs and opportunities for that kind of activity, that we're knowing about it, we're addressing it, we're providing it. So
yeah, okay,
all right,
we all right.
All right. So what we'll do? Let's wait. Let's chat after with Clay. So Clay's part of the solution. There's another guy that does on the road side of it, and Noah's can kind of talk for him, and we'll talk. Let's talk after and answer those questions. That works for you?
We have somebody tomorrow morning to start some of those projects.
I can't guarantee we have somebody tomorrow morning, but I guarantee we'll be talking about it. We might have her issue tomorrow morning and come back to yours. But anyway, yes, ma'am.
I have one more question on something. Is there any kind of way that you could help get us some equipment here, meaning speakers, microphones, things like that, if they have a church program, or just say, I just finished a school supply giveaway for the kids, about 200. Okay, we have to scream out in our voices. We have nothing like microphones set up and all of that. Is there any kind of way you could help us?
I see this lady shaking her head back here. Ma'am, you want to answer that question for me?
You have no, it's not working. No, I'm talking about for church functions.
Do you have the church functions here?
Sometimes when they have banquets, but we do school
She's saying
supplies.
we have it. So
we don't.
let's figure.
We do
I think we can figure it out right here.
It doesn't work like I'm talking about.
Well,
I do the school supplies and I do toys for tots.
Let us chat here. She's saying they have it. Let's figure out how we can bridge that gap to get you what you need. All right. Any other questions? Anybody else? Well, look, I appreciate y'all being here and making this time. Oh, we got another question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm here from New Orleans. I just moved over here. And I'm just trying to have a couple of questions, like about the gym. And like, what is this for? Is this for children?
I'm sorry. I can't. A little bit loud if you can, or somebody give me more mic.
Gym for children?
This gym?
Yeah.
I imagine this gym is for recreation of all ages. What rec district does this fall in? Is Recreation 8. So this is a Rec 8 facility, and Rec 8 maintains facilities and some programs.
One of my employees with the parish is here every night from, I think, 4 to 8.
You heard?
We have, all the gyms have open gym time. During the day, the recreation district funds the buildings, the properties, and everything. I am with the parish with Quality of Life, and my employees man the gym at night. So from about 4 to 8 every day, someone should be around here so the kids can come play volleyball, basketball, and things like that, so that they have some supervision.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
The question that Mr. Horace has said about doing something for the seniors. Well, we have a program here for the seniors already, that they come 4 days a week. What I want to know, would y'all have any money allocated to build us a building like Houma have, an all-activity building that we can put the seniors in? Because every day we have to come here. We have to put the equipment out. We have to pick the equipment up. If something going on here, we got to close down. We can't have the center. If they having, anything that go on here while we are here, we can't have nothing here. That's why I'm saying, could y'all find any funding to build us like an all-activity building, like the one they have in Mechanicsville, that we can build like a little building that we won't have that be just not their building, but they can have other activities in it, and and stuff like that.
So just by hearing what you guys are talking about and asking, part of that conversation is what do we have now? So I understand that the Red District has a partnership with Council on Aging and Gulf Coast. Okay. So and that might be one of the programs that's funded from the parish, and that's what I need to double check on. I'm actually just kind of getting into that as we plan our budget for next year. But when I look at it and seeing, what is Council on Aging doing? Different than what I talked about with recreation. This place has a pool, that place doesn't. Well, if this place has senior activities through Council on Aging, why doesn't this one? To make sure that we have an understanding of all the needs. And so to know a difference between the fact that you're doing it your own with this group, not doing it through Council on Aging, that's conversations I want to look to have there that says, what kind of needs assessment have we done for the community, for all ages, and again, coming back and saying, eat the elephant one bite at a time. What's that first bite? Is that first bite something we need to do for kids, and something we need to do for seniors, or something we need to do for both? And then trying to figure out between us, Council on Aging, the Rec District, grant opportunities, funding we have coming in, what can we do to address those needs? So that's why we're here, to ask these questions and understand what does this community need to help it move forward. So, thank you. Anybody else? Another one? Okay.
I have an idea. I noticed, that, they have a lot of children, they're playing in the parks, and they all do have the gym. And, I've heard different things, like, what you said that you can add to it. Children also need to have better, education. So it would be nice, because I've seen it, where I'm from. We have little, tutoring sessions, like in groups like this. It'll give them something, educational, constructive to do, and to keep them busy.
So you're talking about some after-school tutoring or something along those lines?
To keep them busy.
So I know the state passed some
so that
stuff.
they can play around or whatever less, and.
So I know the state passed some stuff that are making the school districts do some things for tutoring. And I know that's going to be some opportunities that are going to be pushed throughout the parish through the school board. And like Jim talked about, we're here at night providing. So as we do that, as we get in these communities, we try to understand what that need is more and what gaps we need to fill. And we're going to continually be here to do that.
Keep them out of trouble in the community is the purpose.
What's that? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It can keep them out of trouble within the community is the purpose. It keeps
Yes,
them
ma'am.
busy.
That's what we're trying to do. Well, thank y'all for having me. And again, we had papers. Hopefully everybody that had an issue, fill out your papers. Let us know where the problems are. Let us have those, see what we can do to make improvements. And again, I thank y'all for making y'all time to be here. And we will be back. And if you need anything in the meantime, call us up. Thank y'all very much.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.